uruk Mordor, and welcome to Lesson 3 of Learn the Black Speech of Mordor. In this lesson, we will be covering the verbs, specifically infinitives and present tense of the Black Speech of Mordor. Eowyn azat Nazgul. In English that reads, Eowyn kills a Nazgul. As a side note, before we begin, if you are unfamiliar with verb tenses and conjugation, a verb tense tells you when a person did something, when something existed, or when something happened. There are three main tenses in all languages, and those are the past tense, the present tense, and the future tense. Examples in English are I ran, I run, and I will run, respectively. The infinitive of a verb is simply the root word without conjugation, or in the case of my previous example, in English, to run. When you add a tense and a person to a verb, that is called conjugating the verb, while the infinitive is non-conjugated. I'll get more into person later on. With that out of the way, since the Black Speech of Mordor is relatively simple, all verbs are regular. All verb infinitives end in an at, or at. To English speakers, this may be confusing as verbs in English tend to be all over the place. But to put it simply, the infinitive of every verb will be a word that ends in at, or at. For example, durabat, to rule, gimbat, to find, thrakat, to bring, and krimpat, to bind. Next is to define the present tense. The conjugation chart is as follows. For gimbat, gim, I find, gim, you, singular, find, gimbat, he, she, it finds, gim, we find, gim, you all or you plural find, and gimbat, they find. Now this chart is for gimbat. However, this is how present tense is conjugated for all verbs in Black Speech. That's it. Some examples: az, I kill, krimp, I bind, and thrak, I bring. Going back to the chart, it is important to notice that 4 of the conjugations are the exact same. So no matter who is doing the killing, binding, or bringing, 4 out of 6 times, you just cut off the at. Only in third person singular and plural does it have a different ending. The singular ends in at, which is just the infinitive, and the plural ends in ut, the only one that adds anything extra to the word. Now let's take a look at that sentence I shared earlier. Eowyn azat Nazgul, or Eowyn kills a Nazgul. Hopefully you recognize how easy it is to create simple sentences. Eowyn is the subject as one individual who is not I nor you. She is third person singular. She is one person in the third person. Therefore, the verb that follows should be conjugated as azat. And then the object Nazgul comes after the verb. Let's try a more difficult example. Uruk, akhut, azat, akashuga, or the orcs agree to kill the hobbit. Now you may be confused. Why are there 2 different verbs? Simple. The first is conjugated and the second one is not. Remember that I said infinitives are the to run, or to kill, or to bind? Look at that sentence again. Uruk, akhut, azat, akashuga. The orcs agree to kill the hobbit. We know that it is the orcs because akhut, or to agree, is conjugated third person plural, akhut, or they agree. Then following that is azat. This is the infinitive to kill. And when you put them together, you get they agree to kill. And voila, you have a complex sentence. To quickly tie everything back together and to summarize a relatively complicated lesson, Just remember, all Black speech infinitives end in at, at, such as the examples above. And finally, the conjugation chart in present tense is as follows for all verbs. Well, and there we have it. Lesson 3 is done. And as always, my source is in the description, and there are some conjugation practice below there as well. Also, as many of you have may noticed, I have been uploading daily lessons. However, tomorrow I will be uploading an update instead of a normal lesson. I want to touch base with how I think the channel is going so far, and I have a really important question for all of you. And that is, when I get close to finishing the lessons on the Black speech of Mordor, whether I should begin Sindarin or Quenya next. And with that, until next time.